These children have their special gifts. These children are going to be future leaders. When we are the conduit to their learning, to their understanding, to their growth, to their development, we are part of this magic.
You're listening to the Mindful Mama podcast, episode number 306. Today, we're talking about special needs and self regulation for kids with Ashley Becker-Nunley. Welcome to the Mindful Mama podcast, now with over 1 million downloads. Here, it's about becoming a less irritable, more joyful parent. At Mindful Mama, we know that you cannot give what you do not have. And when you've calm and peace within, then you can give it to your children. I'm your host, Hunter Clark-Field's Mindful Mama mentor. I help smart, thoughtful parents stay calm so they can have strong, connected relationships with their children. I've been practicing mindfulness for over 20 years. I'm the creator of Mindful Parenting, and I'm the author of Raising Good Humans, a mindful guide to breaking the cycle of reactive parenting and raising kind, confident kids. Welcome back to the Mindful Mama podcast. I'm glad you're here. I know I say that every time, but I really do mean it. I'm glad to be connecting with you. This is a really important topic we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to be talking to Ashley Becker-Nunley. She's a parent coach. She's an occupational therapist, and we're going to be talking about how to set your child up for success in this time. So I don't know about you, but my kids are back in school. And for a lot of us, our kids are back in school, but it's not easy. It's not the same. My kids had this crazy year, and one of my daughters struggled. It was hard, and now we're going back. And there's a lot of adjustment, a lot of transitions. There's a lot of challenges, and kids may have sensitivities. They may have special needs. How do we do things like, in this new landscape, like find balance and setting limits with screen time? How do we help kids stop procrastinating on completing their homework or studying? How do we connect if our kids get angry and aggressive about some of these issues? Some kids have fallen back into the rhythm of things, but a lot of kids seem to be struggling. So it may be bringing to light learning or social challenges that they're struggling with. So we are going to be putting on our detective lens and looking into special needs and tapping into your kids' learning style in this episode. I can't wait for you to dive into it. Before we dive in, I just want to check in to see if you've gotten your copy of Raising Good Humans, my book, A Mindful Guide to Breaking the Cycle of Reactive Parenting, Raising Kind, Confident Kids. It's an audiobook form, it's in Kindle form, it's on paperback, and it has over 1,300 reviews on Amazon. People are loving it. It's done incredibly well over the summer, and I'm just wondering if you got your copy. You're a listener to this podcast. Did you get your copy yet? It's a little weird if you listen to audiobook because it's not me reading it. I would encourage you to listen anyway. You'll get used to that other voice. It'll be fine. But anyway, get your copy of Raising Good Humans. It's been a parenting bestseller, and it supports, of course, everything we talk about here on the podcast. So that's my plug. Before we dive in, get your copy of the book. Enough chit chat, enough, hey, how you doing? Let's dive in with this conversation. Join me at the table as I talk to Ashley Becker-Nunley. Thanks for coming on the Mindful Mama podcast, Ashley.
Hi, Hunter. Thanks for having me here.
I'm looking forward to talking to you. And I know I get a lot of requests on how to help kids with differences like special needs and all kinds of differences. We have those parents in the membership and stuff. But I want to, before we dive into all of that, I want to dive into your story because I'm curious about. I know that you teach a parent, parenting style very similar to mindful parenting that's non-punitive, that's connection based. And I'm just curious if that was did that come naturally to you, or did you have to fight against some seeds that weren't so helpful in that realm?
Oh, usually we do the work that we have experienced ourselves and that process of evolving, becoming who we want to be, right? And so when I was raised in a very punitive household. I'm an 80s kid. My parents set boundaries and they disciplined us if we went beyond those boundaries. And emotions they were not really felt. It was not okay to get upset. So they would
Mm.
use phrases like just knock it off or, you know, cut it out. And so it didn't really help, you know, it didn't help learn that process of emotional regulation and understanding big emotions and how to handle those big emotions. So I had to learn that along the way. And so that's the evolution of why I do what I do, so that people can feel those feelings and go through those feelings, because that's the fastest ways for us to be able to then get to a place of regulation, being able to feel those thoughts. My parents, they were busy. They both had two different jobs, and I was home. I raised myself for the most part for many years as a latchkey child.
Oh, me
And
too, totally.
you
In the
too?
80s. Yeah, I remember watching like
Totally.
Three's Company after school all the time.
After school special. Did you watch
Yes,
that
yes. Oh
one?
yeah, I did watch that after.
Yeah, and so I just took care of myself, and it was very hands-off parenting. But yet, if I was out of line, then I would hear it. Hell and
Mm.
high water, they would let it be known that I was out of bounds. And they would just send me to my room, and that was the form of discipline. That we wouldn't talk about it afterward. It was just, you know, knock it off, go to your room.
That sounds
And that was
so
very
familiar. Like, that's
right.
like you're kind of
1980s
describing like
tradition.
oh, yes. You're kinda I mean, yeah, there was some escalation beyond just go to your room in my family, but yeah, like a lot of knock it off, go to your room. A lot of go to your room. I remember go to your room has gotta be like the most used phrase. But so how did you learn, you said you had to teach yourself how to regulate your emotions. How did you do that?
First, it started with me before my son. It was my exploration and yoga and mindfulness and meditation. And I was this geeky kid hanging out in the library during lunchtime in high school. And I would just to page turns of these holistic health magazines and books on healthy living and natural living. And so I started that research, wanting to learn more of how mindset works, how we can shape our thoughts and beliefs, and how it can create our actions. And in that practice of mindfulness that I started, this was, gosh, almost 30 years ago, it has evolved into a practice that has really shaped the way that experiences come up in terms of difficult experiences, hard emotions. When my son's having a meltdown, being able to handle that mindfully. And so it really started at that time. And it took me on this path where I was a student of Vipassana and I taught yoga. And so just constantly, taking in, digesting that information was a passion of mine, which I wanted to teach kids. And so before I had my son, I was working with students, with kids in the field of education. And I noticed that when kids were having a hard time, that they just needed guidance on how to get through those hard emotions. And so that's where I thought the practice of mindfulness would be really beneficial for these kids, especially kids in schools, where traditionally, the approach in the education sector has an approach where you'd get sent to the principal's office or ignored, but it was never really talked about. And so I think now in today's society and modern culture, we are allowed to feel emotions more in the schools, and we're exploring more of that emotional regulation, which is fantastic.
All right. So you started meditation practice, and Vipassana for the listener is, or watcher, we're on YouTube too now, guys. Uh is
Yay.
Vipassana is basically mindfulness meditation. It's kind of one of the first words that was used for a basic mindfulness meditation where you're or Vipassana meditation is you're sitting down and you're following the breath. You're following the breath in and out, or whatever anchor serves you most in that moment. So you've had a meditation practice then for a long time, I bet.
I have, yes, since my early 20s. So it's been almost 30 years.
Now, when your son was little, you'd been meditating for a little while, a lot longer than I had when my daughter was little. Probably, I'm a little jealous. So were you when the transition from infant to toddler, where they're talking back to you and at all of those things, when all of those things happened, were you like ready and prepared, or was it like the like, train wreck that it is for most of us?
I don't know if listeners can
Maybe
see
not.
my face, but right now I'm just I'm laughing so hard. Not at all. So I thought that I'd be set up in the start of parenting. I had these grand plans that all would be easy and well because I was this, meditating mom and someone who practiced yoga and just, with that OT background, I got it. All's good. I got it. But it was such a eye opener when learning the ways to connect when times when I just felt like I wanted to flee. It's the whole flight, fright, or freeze mode, and
Mhm,
I was in it.
mhm.
And so I definitely used those skills and I tapped into those skills of grounding me and being present in motherhood, especially those earlier years, right? And my son was colicky. Oh gosh, for the first 6 months, we I needed to sit on a Swiss ball and constantly bounce to get him to calm down. So, I was always on the Swiss ball, and it was
That's like
just
a big exercise ball, I'm thinking.
yes, yeah, the
It's
large
like some
exercise ball.
lingo difference between the East and West Coast here.
And so we would sit on that ball for hours on end, and I would just be bouncing him, and that was the only time he wouldn't cry. And it
Oh,
was
man.
exhausting. I know, right? It was so challenging, so exhausting. And so, of course, I had concerns being not only a mother, but an OT. And I was thinking these thoughts that were so unhelpful, just like, oh, what if this is how it is? What if it's always going to be this hard?
Mm.
And I started doubting my own abilities and parenthood and being a mother and thought, "Ah, well, I was so confident coming in, right, at the start, but it really questioned my confidence. And so I really, Hunter, I had to dive deep into that mindfulness practice, which was hard because I was tired. I was working part time and I was not taking care of myself. So self care was also missing. And that all fed into the challenges with early parenthood and just learning how to navigate those waters at that time with my young son experiencing colic.
Yeah, I can imagine. When I talk about the stress response, right? Like in our yelling, and I really do think like I mean, I truly believe in mindfulness as a huge helper in like building that muscle of non-reactivity, but it's not going to work at all like if you're not getting enough sleep, if you're not like getting some fresh air and exercise, connecting, all of those like super essential self-care pieces, it's going to be useless if you're not doing any of those things. So yeah, so that's like can lead us to like that reactive place really really quickly.
Right. We forget to fulfill those basic needs like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are we getting enough rest? Are we eating well? Are we taking care of our bodies, getting fresh air and exercise? And it's hard to fulfill those requirements early on in,
Yeah.
infancy. And so when we neglect that, we start to see that cascade effect where it impacts your relationship, your ability to connect, and also just again, how it impacts your own health and wellness. And so those basic needs are so important, but yet it's extremely challenging because we do tend to be sleep deprived and not taking care of ourselves.
Yeah. Yes. I know. I really, you know how I talk to people who teach mindfulness to kids in schools, and they're always like, "Oh, you teach mindful parenting? Like that's like the precursor to what we teach in schools, and all the parents should have that so the kids can have that." And I'm like, "Yes, yes, yes." But then I think of like my own version of that is like, oh, that 4th trimester time, that time at like that's when parents need like this all this support, and there's just so little, especially in US culture, there's so little support. It's like you have the baby and then they've forgotten about you, and it's all about the child, and it's we're just so left on our own like these like little satellites that are just off in the wilderness, and that's just not a healthy environment for raising good humans.
Right. Yes. Having that support network is key. And it's like after you leave the hospital or after you're done birthing at home or wherever, we should all be given this manual on how to parent mindfully and how to raise and support that relationship.
Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. We are supported by Green Chef, the first USDA certified organic meal kit. I love that they're organic. It's important to me. I really want to make sure I'm eating clean food. And so if you care about that too, with Green Chef, you can enjoy hand-picked organic veggies and premium proteins without having to worry about where they're coming from. And also, Green Chef is the most sustainable meal kit, offsetting 100% of their plastic use and 100% of their carbon footprint emissions. So you can enjoy your greens while being really green. Plus, there's so many benefits that I love about Green Chef. I mean, you don't have to go to the grocery store. Everything's perfectly proportioned. The meals are yummy and delicious. They support healthy lifestyles, keto, paleo, plant-powered diets. Even if you just want to have organic, healthy, delicious, balanced meals, I love their sauces. I love their meals. We've had blackened tilapia with this amazing chipotle aioli with lime that's just tangy and zesty and delicious, with roasted veggies including sweet potatoes and a guacamole, and so easy to cook, easy directions. And I get new ideas. I get a little in a rut sometimes without Green Chef, but with Green Chef I get all these great ideas that I really, really enjoy. I can't recommend them enough. We have so much on our mind. It's so nice to take a couple nights a week and not have to think about what you're cooking and have incredible restaurant quality organic food coming to your door. It's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. Go to greenchef.com/hunter100 and use the code hunter100 to get $100 off, including free shipping. So that's greenchef.com/hunter. You can find that link right in the show notes wherever you're listening to this right now. There's a place called notes and you scroll down, you find that link, greenchef.com/hunter100. Use the code hunter100, get $100 off and free shipping. So I can't recommend them enough. Organic, green, the number one meal kit for eating well. greenchef.com/hunter100. So talk to us. You were an OT for many years, which is an occupational therapist, for those who don't know the OT lingo. And you've worked with a lot of kids with special needs. Can you give us kind of the the overview of what are some of the special needs out there that parents may need to be aware of, could be a possibility if they have a kid who's struggling? What are some of give us the overview a little bit. Can you do that?
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a big question right now, especially during the pandemic. We're seeing a lot of lagging skills and kids regressing in their skills. So I specialize in working with kids with behaviors. And so I get to help kids that have anxiety, depression, may struggle with emotional regulation, anger management, kids that are struggling with sensory differences, kids that are struggling with learning differences, on the autism spectrum. And so essentially my job as an occupational therapist, I help children be as independent as possible. So I get to look at the whole child emotionally, cognitively, academically, physically, looking at the whole child to ensure that the way that they can feel successful, the way that they can be and act successfully in school, is that we do look at the whole child. So I get to play detective. And so when I see a student that's having a hard time in school, then I get to put on my detective lens and I look to see, okay, is it environment? Is it perhaps the room is too bright with those awful halogen lights? Is it that the posters you can't even see the paint on the walls
The
because it's
wall.
just covered with posters. Is it that there is too many rugs? I went into this one kindergarten classroom once. We had a whole overhaul in terms of setting up the environment, but she had all these ABC and number mats, and the whole carpet was just filled with rugs. Not only is that a tripping hazard, but also you just see all this visual information, which is very distracting. And so you wonder, why is it that my student can't sit and attend? Why is it that my student is looking elsewhere and not on me when I'm speaking? Well, they're probably fascinated by, the hundreds of posters on the walls. And you think about the smells, you think about the textures of handling glue and tape. And so when a child is having a challenge, going in to play that detective role, I get to see, okay, what is going on? What is impacting this child's learning? Where are they struggling? What time of day are they struggling? With what subject are they struggling with? And what does that look like? And then I also want to get an idea from the child's point of view. How's it going for you? What would you like to be better at? Where are you struggling? And then, making it developmentally appropriate. So for the younger ones, it will be through play because that's a child's main occupation is play. And in order for us to really connect with a child and understand where they're at, we use play. That's the avenue to really get to the child. And this is what I get to do all day in my job. I get to play. I love it. It's the best. That's why I went into this work. So when we work with the children and we see where those lagging skills are, we work to then repair. And so having a conversation with the parents, making sure that they're on board, because you also have to consider, well, what's happening at home, right? Are they being successful, or they're working toward that success in the school environment? They may meet their goals. They may finally get those accommodations where they're able to succeed in that previous struggle, only to go home and then resume unhealthy habits or unhealthy patterns. So then when they come back, especially after summer break, especially after longer breaks, we see such regression. And these are the kids that I tend to work with, kids that are in homes that unpredictable, homes that are can be traumatic, even kids that aren't getting those basic needs met. Lack of proper nutrition, having access to clothing, to a warm apartment or a home. So these basic needs may not be met. And so when you see the kids, sadly, it's like you're kind of working against a lot of factors here. We try to encourage healthy meals. And so we yet see a lunchbox of I have kids that come to school with a cupcake, um, uh, like some sort of bright colored drink. I don't know if it's Kool-Aid, and then a dessert. And you think the cupcake would already be the dessert, but that's part of the whole meal with pizza. It's just that's what kids are eating, and so of course they're really struggling with learning and retention of skills, and of course they're struggling sitting still, and of course they're struggling with emotional regulation. And so having a conversation with the parents, it really starts with that education. So getting the idea of how the family is doing and where they need support. It's a whole, like back to the Hillary Clinton, it takes a village.
So I'm kind of thinking about the listener and the idea, like, so taking what you said there, like if your child is like having difficulty learning, is like having behavior issues, is having all these things, like we want to do like what Ashley's saying, like be a detective, it's building that awareness, right? Like when is it happening? What time of day is it happening? What are the needs that are happening in that moment? Like basic needs, you're saying, like sleep, food, blood sugar, all those things. Like we want to look at those things first. So I'm trying to think about like kind of how you take these ideas of kids with special needs like in the classroom, and then how do you extrapolate that to the home? Is that where you'd start with, like, let's say, like, looking at just the basics first and then building up from there?
Right. And we don't want to overwhelm the parents. So oftentimes these parents are already overwhelmed. And so we really want to start simple. and letting them know. So, first of all, communication is key. So, you start having conversations. You learn what is the best way to reach them. A lot of times, these families don't have Wi Fi, they don't have access to technology. I even have students that they don't have a telephone line. And so it's really challenging to get a hold of these parents often. But yet, if you keep trying, if you're persistent, they will eventually feel supported and they'll reach out and say, yes, I need help. And so at that time, that is the start of the conversation. Great, I'm here to help you. This is how so and so is doing. This is how your child is doing in school. This is what we're seeing. They may be, your child is doing well in the classroom, but yet when your child goes to music, your child is screaming, covering his ears, and just really having a hard time sitting still during music time. So this is what I've seen, and this is what I'm doing, and this is what you can do. And I encourage you, to try these out and let me know how it goes. I don't want to overwhelm the parents, but certainly if they're on board and they feel supported, we're going to see that child succeed. And that's what we ultimately want, is that child to succeed.
So let's imagine. I imagine the usually the listener to this podcast is engaged, right? You're listening to a Mindful Mama podcast. Like you're interested and engaged in this stuff. Say what a parent who could be a listener here who is seeing like regression in their child, seeing behavior problems. What would that type of parent? What might be their first steps?
I would first encourage them to have regular communication and find out what is the best way for that. But having that maybe weekly emails just to touch base and see how it's going. I don't
Like with a
believe
teacher, you're saying? Like, what if they're
with the
just seeing
parent.
this at home? This parent, a parent's at home, they got a child remote learning at home, and they're seeing like maybe regression behaviors, behavior issues and things like that at home. What would that kind of parent start? Where would they start with?
Totally. Okay, great. Good. So we're going to now hop on to the parent coach in me. So I'm going to put my parent coach hat. I saw a gap. And again, I already addressed this early on, that the parents were struggling, but yet the child would reach their goals in the school. So with that gap, that's why I wanted to become a parent coach, because these kiddos are returning home to an environment that may not support their needs. And so, working with the parents to help them understand the needs behind their child's behaviors. I love Ross Green's work. He was saying, he says in his work, Dr. Ross Green, is that your child is not trying to be a problem, they're just having a problem.
Oh, I love that. Your child
Yes,
is not trying to be a problem, they are having a problem.
they're just having a problem. And so this is our opportunity to find out what that problem is. And so getting close, getting curious, being very objective about it. Okay, don't take it personally, right? That's always key. Don't take it personally. But making sure that the parents have the tools and support. And so in the parent coaching program, we work on mindset. And part of that mindset is learning how to look at your child and see that they are just having a problem, and understanding that with practice of approaching the challenge or the difficult behavior, without taking it personally, very objectively, and teaching the parent to play that detective role so that they can understand what the needs are and then work to prevent them. And with support, with guidance, and just the steps to be able to practice this in the moment when the child is regulated, rather than in the moment when they're dysregulated and throwing a temper tantrum and having a meltdown in the store. It's like, that's not the time to stop and practice, parenting. That's the time where you're there with your child to support them until they've moved through that emotion.
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with you there more. Yeah, let's get curious, right? Let's like kindness and curiosity in those moments and kind of step back, see that perspective. That's beautiful. You talk about how to connect with your child who's angry and aggressive. So if we're seeing anger, we're seeing aggression, How do we connect with our kids then?
Oh, it's so challenging. I mean, I can relate to this. I'm sure most parents can relate to this. It's so hard to keep that loving connection when you are so mad at your child, when you're so frustrated and you're thinking in your mind, oh my gosh, how many times do I have to remind my child to put their shoes away? How many times do I have to remind my child to hang up their coat? We go through these steps, and it's like we're just repeating a broken record, just always saying the same thing again and again and again. And, some kids are able to pick up directions and follow through faster than others. I have a lovely son who needs extra reminders. And so, yes, I've been challenged. And so, this again is the reason why I do this work, because I've learned strategies that have helped me to remain present, to remain objective, and not to take things personally. And so, when we remain open and practice radical empathy. And that means just stopping, taking some deep breaths, notice, okay, I'm really mad right now. And that's okay. That is okay to feel that. And being able to first take care of yourself, being able to drop whatever it is that you're trying to do or force your child to do or make your child do, just drop that. And then just remain present with yourself first, because when you're regulated, then you can help and guide your child to be regulated. And that's how they learn most, is by watching us. And so when I get to a place of regulation, then I'm modeling that radical empathy to my child. And so that way, when you just are remaining calm and you're with your child, and you can just simply say, I see you're having a hard time. That's okay. I'm here for you. I'm not going anywhere. And so when you remain present and they're extremely angry and they're acting out, of course you want to flee. That's the time when we're just experiencing those really ugly, awful emotions. But when we practice radical empathy, we're allowing ourselves to let go of expectations and to just remain present with our child without this need to correct in the moment, without this need to fix things. We're just there. And that's it. You don't have to say a whole lot, just be there and keep your body in a calm state, because in that process your child is learning, and so they're actually getting um, that information from you, that feedback through your body language, and that is huge. That's a huge way for your child to learn self-regulation, because oftentimes when our child is having a hard time, it's because they're dysregulated. Maybe they spent too much time in front of the screens, maybe too many bags of Skittles, maybe too many cartoons, or maybe something happened at school that we don't know of yet. So just getting curious and finding out, well, what led to this in the first place? But when we remain calm and remain connected, this will allow your child to feel cared for, supported for, and loved.
Stay tuned for more Mindful Mama podcast right after this break. We are supported by Osea Malibu skincare products. I find it hard to find great skincare products that are actually good for my skin and good for the planet and give you the results that you want. So I'm so thrilled that Osea is a sponsor, because their products are amazing and they check all those boxes amazingly. Osea has been making products for 25 years, and when it comes to clean beauty, they are really, really a pioneer. I'm obsessed with their famous Andaria algae body oil. I put it on my skin every single day, and it smells wonderful. It looks amazing. It feels luxurious. It feels rich. It doesn't at all feel greasy or sticky. It really absorbs beautifully into the skin, and it really moisturizes my skin, leaving it looking really healthy, looking glowing. It arrives in beautiful packaging, sustainable design. I know if you've been using body lotion for many years, you may be a little wary of body oils, but let me tell you, I'm totally a convert. Actually, I found out the Andaria algae body oil has been Victoria Beckham's favorite body oil for years. I swear, you will be obsessed with it too. And this incredibly like sexy, nice citrus smell. It really makes me feel like I'm in the spa. Plus, all of Osea's products are clean, they're vegan, cruelty free, they're climate neutral, they're created with sustainably sourced seaweed and made in California. So you can feel really good about what you're putting on your skin. I want you to experience your new favorite clean skincare line with a special discount just for our listeners. You can get 10% off your first order with the promo code MINDFUL. MINDFUL at OseaMalibu.com. So that's 10% off your first order. Use the promo code MINDFUL at Osea, OSEA, Malibu.com. And that link is right in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this on your phone or whatever. Just click the notes link, scroll down, you'll find that OseaMalibu.com link. You'll get free samples with every order. And with orders over $50, you get free shipping. You're gonna want it all. I mean, beyond the Andaria algae body oil, I'm obsessed with their light moisturizer and their skin cleanser. I'm using it every night. Honestly, they're incredible products. Go to OSEAMalibu.com, OseaMalibu.com. Use the promo code MINDFUL. So I love everything you're saying, and I agree. Like this is what we teach. But I can hear the listener, like the objection, kind of coming to mind. Like, well, okay, so I've asked my child to do something, put on their shoes 3 different times, and I'm getting like, anger and aggression and all that at me. And Ashley, you're saying drop the command, but what about putting on the shoes? Like that, is my child going to learn that they can get angry and aggressive and then not have to do the things that I asked them to do? So what would you say to that objection that parents would bring?
Right. Well, first of all, we understand that punishment doesn't work. So, not saying, go to your room or punishment of, just giving these commands, that doesn't work. And so, what we do know is that when we, again, practice with empathy, self compassion, and allowing ourselves to get into a state where our minds, are regulated, we can think clearly. We can think clearly when we're in fight, flight, or freeze mode. We're no longer in the thinking brain, and so we're in the brain where it's like you want to run out of there, and it's hard. And I get it; it's so uncomfortable. The thing is, though, is that when we do practice the skill of radical empathy and breathing through it and remaining present, we can think clearly and we can also see more objectively. And then when we are in that state, we're not trying to control, because one of the reasons why we get so angry is because we want to control. And this is inherent. This is the human brain. We desire control. And we feel out of control when our child doesn't put their shoes away, when our child doesn't listen to us. And we have to keep repeating. And this is a trigger for parents. It's a trigger
Oh,
for anyone,
sure.
because there
Yeah.
is this need to feel in control. And when things don't go our way, which is all the time in parenthood, then we feel out of control. So, how do we handle that? How do we want to respond to that? Do we want to continue to go down that path of yelling or shaming or punishing, which we know doesn't work because it keeps happening? We see the evidence it's not
It
working because it
causes
keeps happening.
Yeah, it ultimately causes resentment and resistance in the long run because yeah, there's no connection there. There's no you're just causing like more and more resistance. You're making your child more and more resistant to what you say. So, but then back to that parent, like, well, what about the shoes? Like, I gotta be able to get my kids' shoes on?
I would ask guiding reflective questions. I see your shoes are still on the floor.
Mhm.
And then wait. What will your child say? And even the way that you are standing, your body language says a lot. So
Mhm.
again, radical empathy, taking care of yourself, making sure you're regulated. If you have tight fists, if you're showing an angry face, they're just going to be also on edge and also reactive because you are reactive. So that's why it's so important to breathe first. Find a place of regulation, because that is step one, self-regulation. And that way, when you are talking with your child and just letting them reflect on the experience by asking them questions, it can be objective and it's not as emotional. It doesn't have to be, I see your shoes are on the floor. And that will help guide them in that conversation. They're going to respond because because I put them there. Yes, I see your shoes. Where do they belong? Um, I I right here. Hmm, I don't see my shoes here. I put my shoes in the basket. Oh, okay, fine. Or, all right. And then they'll just huff off or and take their shoes. But asking those reflective questions will help them understand and think a little bit more about that. Like, how is this impacting the home? I don't want to trip and fall on them. So giving them that feedback when I walk in the door, I don't want to trip and fall on shoes. I'd rather walk into the home and have a clean space.
Mm.
They understand that it's impacting others when we have that conversation. When everyone is regulated and everyone is calm, that's when you can have a deeper conversation. Like, I don't want to walk in the home and trip on shoes. I don't want to fall down. I prefer having a clean home. We put our shoes in the basket. And this will also let your child see the reason behind that, why we put our shoes away, and have deeper compassion, knowing, well, you're right. I don't want mom to fall down. I want to be able to walk in the house and have it, semi clean. But just having them posing those reflective questions, it allows them to problem solve. And we want to teach that. That's a lifelong skill. We want to teach problem solving, critical thinking, because that is what helps build responsible, resilient people.
Yay. I love all this. Like let's get them involved with this rather than just resisting us and feeling so frustrated with us. So now kids with special needs, kids with like sensory processing disorder. If we're a parent of those child, is this different? Does this all look radically different from what you just described?
Yeah, great question. So it depends. For kiddos that may have learning differences, you want to tap into their learning style. So making sure that you understand, are they visual learners? Are they auditory learners? What are their strengths? Are they kinesthetic learners? So when we tap into their mode of learning, then we can get more in their world and they'll be able to follow directions better, because simply it could just be the fact that they're not doing their work is because they don't understand. And so when we provide those accommodations and modifications for kids with special needs, then we are helping them understand and comprehend what is asked of them, what the expectation is. So we're creating that boundary, but we're supporting them and understanding that boundary. And so, for example, let's say a kiddo on the autism spectrum comes home and throws the shoes down on the rug right there, right in the middle of the house by the doorway. And what you can do is, oftentimes kiddos on the autism spectrum do best with pictures, visuals. And so you would also simplify the language. Very simply say, first shoes and basket, then reading time. And so it's almost like a command, but you want to break it down into a language that's short, succinct, few words, but it's just getting to the point. And you can use pictures, a
Mm,
picture of shoes in a basket. Shoes and
mm.
basket.
Okay. All right. So you're kind of describing like what is understanding what is your child's language? What is the best way to get through to them? And what you're describing, which is really beautiful, is teaching, right? Like that's really ultimately what we're doing as our kids grow older. We're teaching them how to regulate their emotions by modeling us. We're teaching them how to create an environment by putting things away. We're teaching them what other people need. And so when we can get into this mode of like, I'm kind of more your coach or your teacher, then I think that's I love that definition of the word discipline, like disciple, the idea of somebody to follow, right? Like, so you're following a teacher. I think that makes more sense. So with kids with special needs, we're just basically like accommodating their needs and learning their language more or less, right? Like we're just trying to see how can we meet up with you? Like where is that connection place?
Absolutely. It's helping them feel successful. What do we need to do to support them? What accommodations do we need to put in their environment so that they feel successful? We all want to feel successful. And when a child feels successful, they will feel so good. And that will just spread into their home life. That will impact their relationships. That will impact their studies, their ability to focus, their ability to attend, their ability to take care of themselves. It's huge. And the other thing, it's not only will they feel supported, but they will also understand that relationship with you, that you're not this disciplinarian wagging your finger telling them what to do, that you control. They are part of that process. So we're giving them a sense of autonomy. And when we feel autonomous, like this is the whole idea with occupational therapy, is we're wanting to enhance independence. We want people to be as independent as possible. And so helping our child feel successful, providing them with the steps to reach their goals and very actionable steps, that will lead to success. And when kids feel good, they do good. I love that. That's also Ross Green. When kids feel good, they do
When
good.
kids feel good, they do good. That's great. I love that. So what about like a child with ADHD? What are some of the accommodations and the ways that we could help kids with ADHD feel successful at home?
Absolutely. Oh, this is a good one because right now I'm hearing a lot of challenges from parents right now. Kids that are inattentive, unfocused, unmotivated, really squirrely and wiggly during learning time, and not listening or seemingly not listening. And oftentimes it goes undiagnosed, but kiddos with ADHD, they are the ones who are labeled lazy, the ones who are labeled, a problem, ones that are labeled, um, you know, silly, because oftentimes humor is used as a coping mechanism. Um, they have all these labels, but it's just that they're misunderstood. And again, when we help the child setting their environment up for success, then they will do better. And when we are setting them up in an environment with lots of distractions, now specifically kiddos with ADHD, there's a lot of distractions, a lot of noise in the environment, a lot of smells in the environment. If there is, a lot of words being used and the child isn't following along because it's just overwhelming, then that child will shut off. That child is not capable of learning at that time. And so, very much it begins with having a routine. When it's predictable and the child knows what comes next, that will give them a sense of control. When they have a sense of control over their environment, they're more able to follow that routine. And so, when they follow a very simple visual schedule for the younger ones, but as they get older, you can continue with the schedule, but you can have it written or pair it with pictures for easier understanding. But for those kiddos, you want to really consider setting up a schedule. Have your child sit down with you. Together, come up with a schedule that works and then stick with it. And I even recommend that parents don't really veer off that schedule on the weekends.
Hmm.
Bedtime, I encourage that to stay the same. And again, I also encourage wake up time, stay the same, because what happens is our kiddos with ADHD, they're very sensitive to change, and that can completely set them off and frankly ruin their day. And so when there is that consistency, they know it, they follow it, there is a greater feeling of success because the tasks are getting completed. So having a schedule that's in a visible place that you can refer to. So again, it like takes the onus off of you as the disciplinarian. I told you to start your homework. You can simply go to the schedule. Oh, what time is it? It's reading time. Okay. Do you need help getting that set up? And then just making sure that the environment is also not stimulating. We want to think about external stimuli because that tends to be very distracting for kiddos with ADHD. So again, putting on that detective lens, we want to look at the environment. How can we help how can we help the child with the environment? And so there's all these accommodations that we can provide and what I provide with my students.
So I'm hearing like simplifying, like less is more, we don't want a ton of stuff. I imagine there could be, and so that we can have this predictable routine. That's really great. So just really like kind of meeting those kids' needs. Now, this is all very demanding on the parents, right? We're like, they're doing a million things, working, go, and doing all the things that we are doing. And then we have to do this detective work and understand our child. Maybe we're going to specialists, we're going to an occupational therapist, whatever we're doing. Um, any As we kind of just wrap this up, any final words for parents of kids with special needs or differences? What are your words of wisdom for them?
Oh, again, be easy and gentle and kind to yourself. It's not easy. And especially for parents with kiddos with special needs, it is certainly not easy. These children have their special gifts. These children are going to be future leaders. When we are the conduit to their learning, to their understanding, to their growth, to their development, we are part of this magic, and we can be part of that development where we're creating adults that are resilient, that are responsible. That's what we want. And so in order to do that, we need support. Make sure that you have support, whether that is with a best friend, a teacher, a church, a community around you, wherever. Make sure that you have surrounded yourself with people that get you, that get the situation. Maybe that's a support group. There are so many Facebook groups right now that offer this type of support. And it's a great opportunity, especially now during COVID, that you can still get the support without seeing people in person. But my biggest recommendation is making sure that you get the support that you need, because that is key. We could put all these strategies, we could put in all these tips and education, but it's not going to stick unless we are taking care of ourselves, and we take care of ourselves by getting the support that we need.
Yeah, greater challenge requires greater resources, and so I would also say like it's probably really intense too. Like you're raising a child with special needs. Like take breaks. Like that support. Part of that support should be I get a little time away from you. I go away for the afternoon. I go away for an overnight, and I have some time where I'm not mom. I'm not this role, and I'm just myself. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We are all given that. That is a human right that we should take breaks. We need breaks. And especially parents, and especially parents with special needs kiddos, it is so important to take that extra time. Have a babysitter come over, have family come over and help you out. Get the help that you need so that you can take a break and take care, because then you'll come back refreshed and ready to reconnect and bond and have fun.
Absolutely. I love this. Well, Ashley, it's been so nice to talk to you, and I really appreciate you sharing your expertise and your wisdom with us. Where can people find out more about the work you're doing?
Sure. I am at joyfulmamamentor.com. So that's www.joyfulmamamentor.com. And I'm also on Facebook. I have a lovely private Facebook group, also Joyful Mama Mentor. And that is where I help parents and be able to understand their kids' behaviors and give tips and strategies, where I specialize in working with kiddos with special needs as well.
Thank you so much from one mama mentor to another. This is fabulous. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Hunter.
I love how Ashley says that the first step to getting your child to do something should be our self regulation. I could not agree more. Yes, yes. So that's all the work that we do in the Mindful Parenting Clear method, that we do that inner work to help us calm our reactivity. It's interesting because we do work with communication skills and, you learn them and stuff, but kids have these incredible BS meters. It's really like if you're just trying to learn what to say and how to respond without doing that inner work, It tends not to work. The whole like kind of just say this method is a little bit dangerous in that way because we learn like, oh, I should respond this way. And then, we don't use all those many tools that we have in the membership to like calm our reactivity, understand and heal our triggers, cultivate self-compassion, create all these habits, these pathways for learning to take care of difficult emotions. And then it becomes this like surface thing. And then we can't even remember it how that nice way to respond when our stress response is triggered. We can't even remember what to say because our brain is hijacked. And B, if you kind of like respond in this certain way, your kind of brain overrides your body and you force yourself to respond in this way. You're not actually regulating your emotions. Your kids see right through that and it tends not to work because there's this like huge disconnect between what your words are saying and what your body is feeling, and your kids can feel that. So like they have these incredible BS meters. So important. So anyway, if you want to dive into that work, there are 2 ways I can help you right away with that self-regulation work and the communication work. Is you can get your copy of Raising Good Humans, over 1,300 reviews on Amazon. Get that copy, audiobook form. Or if you're ready to dive deeper, you want real alive coaching, you want some support, you want to have the community, you want to be able to have someone to ask questions with for your whole lifetime, all that stuff, get on the Mindful Parenting membership wait list. I only offered lifetime memberships for a reason, because we're doing like deep lasting changes. It's not like this superficial quick fix or you're like 6 weeks and you're done. It's like these are lessons we come back to again and again. So I end up helping people like through a certain issue when your child's 9 and a different issue when your child's 12. It's really, really fascinating to watch parents grow and apply the tools in all these different situations that arise. But anyway, if you're interested and you just want to have more information, get on the wait list. I'll send you some information about it. And you can do that at mindfulparentingcourse.com. That's at mindfulparentingcourse.com. I just hope this has been helpful for you today. I hope this episode, help us become more thoughtful, more empathetic. If you think you have some friends it's going to help, share it with them. And I hope that, this has watered your good seeds today. And it certainly did mine, this conversation. And I'm so grateful and appreciative. And I'm so grateful and appreciative of you being here listening. Thank you. I wish you a beautiful week. Thank you so much for sharing your time with me and listening. And I cannot wait to connect with you again. Namaste.
Say definitely do it. It's really helpful. It will change your relationship with your kids for the better. It will help you communicate better. And I'd say communicate better as a person, as a wife, as a spouse. It's been really a positive influence in our lives. So definitely do it.
I'd say definitely do it. It's so worth it. The money really is inconsequential when you get so much benefit from being a better parent to your children and feeling like you're connecting more with them and not feeling like you're yelling all the time or you're like, why isn't things working? I would say definitely do it. It's so worth it. It'll change you.
No matter what age someone's child is, it's a great opportunity for personal growth and it's a great investment in someone's family. I'm very thankful I had this.
You can continue in your old habits that aren't working, or you can learn some new tools and gain some perspective to shift everything in your parenting.
Are you frustrated by parenting? Do you listen to the experts and try all the tips and strategies, but you're just not seeing the results that you want? Or are you lost as to where to start? Does it all seem so overwhelming with too much to learn? Are you yearning for a community of people who get it, who also don't want to threaten and punish to create cooperation? Hi, I'm Hunter Clark-Fields, and if you answered yes to any of these questions, I want you to seriously consider the Mindful Parenting membership. You will be joining hundreds of members who have discovered the path of mindful parenting and now have confidence and clarity in their parenting. This isn't just another parenting class. This is an opportunity to really discover your unique, lasting relationship, not only with your children, but with yourself. It will translate into lasting, connected relationships, not only with your children, but your partner too. Let me change your life. Go to mindfulparentingcourse.com to add your name to the waitlist, so you will be the first to be notified when I open the membership for enrollment. I look forward to seeing you on the inside. mindfulparentingcourse.com.